AI software enables organizations to use artificial intelligence at enterprise scale, solving previously unsolvable business problems. Learn more at c3.ai.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Classical Music here on West Virginia Public Broadcasting. I'm your host for this afternoon, Matt Jackford, and I'm here with two special guests here as part of our call for performers. Robert Chafin, assistant professor of voice from WVU, will be singing tenor for us today. And Jun Lee, staff accompanist at WVU, is back with us again and will be holding down the piano, as you can hear. Welcome to the show, guys.
Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. Fremde, étranger, stranger. Glücklich zu sehen, je suis enchanté. Happy to see you, bleibe, reste, stay. Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. In cabaret, oh cabaret, to cabaret.
Great way to start the show there. That was Willkommen. And we heard a performance live here in our studios with Robert Chafin singing, Jun Lee on the piano, and they're here for our call for performers. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, guys.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah.
I'm a little excited and nervous because it's the first time I have sung since about a year.
Wow. So that's the last time you got to perform was March of 2020.
Yes. I've done a lot of recordings, mostly from tracks, and it's so nice to be with someone like Jung, who is amazing collaborative pianist.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have you guys in the studio with us today. That piece, interesting piece, it has a lot of different languages thrown at you all at once. Tell us a little bit about Willkommen.
Right. It's just basically saying, welcome, come and sit a while, let's just talk and chat. And I think one thing that I've been thinking about is when I was asking if you needed someone to sing, and I thought, this is about a journey. And we get stuck with a destination. And I think with doing the Masters of Ceremony from Cabaret is a way to kind of like get things started. Mm-hmm. But I have to say, it's not been all ease in the COVID time. The pandemic has been rough for everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I know that in my family and in friends of family, there have been people that have succumbed to COVID.
Yeah.
So we go through periods of time, and a couple of weeks ago I was really stuck. And that's what I want to do this next song, which is not in the film from Cabaret, but it's in the show. And it's called I Don't Care Much.
Okay, and so let's take a listen to that. And do you know the composer?
Yes, it was Candor and Ebb.
Okay.
It's from the musical Cabaret.
Okay, well, let's take it away here, and we'll hear Robert Chafin live in our studio with Jun Lee on the piano.
I don't care much, go or stay. I don't care very much either way. Hearts grow cold on a windy street. Lips grow cold when there's rent to meet. So if you'll kiss me, if we touch, warning's fair, I don't care very much. I don't care much, go or stay. I don't care very much either way. Words sound false when your coat thin. Feet don't waltz when the roof caves in. So if you kiss me, if we touch, warning's fair, I don't care very much.
Beautiful performance there, guys. Robert Chafin, singing tenor, Dr. Jun Lee on piano. And so, I want to ask how your last year's been. I know you touched a little bit on it, but now you're teaching from home. You're doing something different because of the pandemic. So talk to us about that.
Right. When we got word that there was going to be a national lockdown, I was able to ask if I could go to Virginia and stay with my mom so we could help each other get through the pandemic. And WVU, the staff there, Dr. Ibrahim and Dr. Jackson, were really generous. And so I've been teaching over the internet through Zoom for almost a year and a half now. And I have to say, at first it was very difficult, but I think we found as musicians a way to express ourselves. Yeah. And the reason I'm starting off with musical theater selections, I'm teaching the musical theater freshman class voice, and I'm putting my words into action because I tell them all the time, just tell a story. Don't stop. Find your passion. And I think that I've seen so much innovation. All the teachers in West Virginia, I was lucky I got to judge the all-state competition recently and was amazed at the preparation of the students, even though they hardly, if at all, met together because of the danger, because we singers are hashtag super spreaders, still considered that. Mm-hmm. And it's been a difficult time, but like that last song that the master of ceremonies sings, he's looking back and saying it doesn't really matter. But in the end, it does, if you know the cabaret story.
Right, absolutely. And I do want to note that, we are taking precautions here at West Virginia Public Broadcasting to ensure that we are spaced out enough and to, stay safe for regarding the pandemic. And but we still want to make sure we have music to, to perform for everybody live, because it's been a drought here this past year.
Yes. So. Definitely. This next piece I'm going to be singing is something I heard when I broke my knee. Yes, I'm accident prone. I'm in a cast as we speak.
Yeah.
But it was in Germany, and I felt very alone. I was lucky to get a single room. But when I was there, I turned on and I got CDs sent to me. And one of the first was Bryn Terfel, who I got to sing one of my debuts in Italy with. We did a Mozart Requiem together.
Wow.
And that was exciting.
That's awesome.
It was supposed to be in the Pala Fenice, but that had burned down, not once but twice.
Oh, gosh.
So we went to the tent, the Pala Fenice, and we did it outdoors. And so that was a taste of what music can be like. And it was sort of like a premonition or something to see in the future, because the Italians, especially the Spanish, they're putting on shows.
Right.
They rehearse 6 feet apart with masks, and then they go in and they record on stage. And I hope that very soon we in the States can follow.
Right, absolutely. I agree. And we'll talk a little bit more about your European experiences in a bit. And for now, we have My Little Welsh Home.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take
this
it away.
This is Words and Music by Gwyn Williams.
Okay, take it away.
I am dreaming of the mountains of my home, of the mountains where in childhood I would roam. I have dwelt 'neath southern skies, where the summer never dies, but my heart is in the mountains of my home. I can see the little homestead on the hill. I can hear the magic music of the rill. is nothing to compare with the love that once was there in the lonely little homestead on the hill. I can see the quiet churchyard down below, where the mountain breezes wander to and fro. And when God my soul will keep, it is there I want to sleep, with those dear old folks that loved me long ago.
My little Welsh home there. And that was performed live here by Professor Robert Chafin, singing tenor Dr. Jun Lee on piano. And, how did you come across that piece? Where did you find that from?
I found it while I was in Germany, and from Bryn Terfel. It was on one of his first CDs of Welsh melodies, and he sang it in Welsh and also in English.
Yeah.
And I brought it back because it's a reflection. We're getting to go home. We're going to the mountains. We're with our family or with our friends if we're lucky. We have reduced ourselves back to units. Mm-hmm. And I think this song is really, for me, a return, going back. And that has a lot of fun, a lot of excitement, but also a lot of memories.
Right. Yeah. So tell me about your time in Europe. How did you get there? What did you, some of your amazing experiences over there too?
I was going to say I was lucky, but my mom would say you were blessed.
Sure.
I was in a competition and I got third place in the Young Artist Award, and it was Opera Columbus. And there, I had no idea, but my future agent was in the judging panel to take a singer back to Germany. And the first prize came with a scholarship to go study at the Goethe Institute in Munich. And that guy said, I don't want to do it. My career's going too well. I don't want it. The second place person says, I don't want it. So it came to me and I said, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I had no idea what would happen. It changed my life.
Wow.
I was supposed to go to the Academy of Vocal Arts, study with a very famous teacher there. And I don't know if I would have found my way and my journey to be as exciting if I didn't go over. Because it was while I was there studying Grundstufe 1, which is the beginning section as a scholarship student, that the wall fell. And one of the best teachers I've ever had of anything, Dr. Winfried Steffens, he rented, and at that point to rent a car was very difficult in Germany especially, he rented a van and took the scholarship students and we went directly to the wall. And it was there that I was just so excited. It showed the excitement. The people were excited. Yeah. It was almost like a party, and that's how I ended up in Germany. This agent called me in. I went there and auditioned in my bib overalls and got to meet one of my mentors, Jerry Hadley, who was really into the American songbook and singing so that everyone can understand, just not making opera something separate. And it was there that I got sent out on auditions because it seemed like everybody wanted to change their opera houses. I think this pandemic is very similar, except it has a lot more negative tone, of course. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people are rediscovering or configuring what they really want to do.
Right.
And I think that's an exciting time within all the sorrow.
Right. That is true. There's, crisis can also be an opportunity for change. For
exactly. From
different.
Chaos comes greatness.
Right. And, we can reflect on what we do right and what we do wrong, what can be changed. It gives us a little bit of a pause to rethink things. And so, like you said, you have been enjoying doing lessons on Zoom, for instance.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. When we first started, I had no idea. Just a sideline, a kid that I used to babysit in Blacksburg, Virginia, was the son of Dr. Howell, who taught at Virginia Tech, where I was a biology major. Mm-hmm. And I got involved in all this music. And he was very instrumental in helping me learn through vocal jazz. There was a vocal 8-part jazz group. the New Virginians. I was too tall and too large framed, let's put it that way, and didn't get in because that was my dream, to be a New Virginian. And I think the West Virginians were a similar group that were based in Aldous and Broaddus, I think.
Right.
Anyway, that was my dream, but I got directed somewhere else. He needed someone to babysit often, so I was in the area, and so I got to babysit Ian Howell.
Nice.
I bring him up. He's now a Dr. Howell, teaches at New England Conservatory. He has been the leading figure in digital work, low latency tech. They've done a lot with Sound Jack. I don't know if I can mention things because I'm sure they have patents and things you're not supposed to do. But through Zoom, I was able, just through a $15 Ethernet cable, was able to maximize. And I've enjoyed the challenge of having to listen in a different way, because I think that's what music does for us. It takes time out. And so many of us did not have the chance to take time.
Right.
So it was a great time for reflection. And I guess that sort of leads me to the next song I brought up, Come Ready and See Me. I've heard it first in a recital of a student of Dr. Hope Kohler, and I just heard it and fell in love with it. And so I'm glad I get to sing it. It's my premiere for singing this piece. But it's by Richard Hundley, and it's basically saying what's going to happen. Come ready and see me so that we can go on to the next thing.
Okay, let's take a listen to that. Come Ready and See Me by Richard Hundley, and performed live here in our studios with Professor Robert Chafin, singing tenor, Dr. Jun Lee on piano.
Come ready and see me no matter how late. Come before the years run out. I'm waiting with a candle. No wind will blow out. But you must haste on foot or by sky, for no one can wait forever under the bluest sky. I can't wait forever, for the years are running out. I'm waiting with a candle. No wind will blow out, but you must haste on foot or by sky, for no one can wait forever under the bluest sky. I can't wait forever, for the years are running out. I can't wait forever, for the years are running Sorry, got a little emotional.
Oh, no, that's great. That's what we need. Yeah, beautiful.
That is such a beautiful song.
Touching.
And very much, I think, a song for the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we just don't know how much time we have.
Right, I know. Well, fortunately, vaccines are coming along, and, things are hopefully we're turning a corner here. And
Definitely.
Yeah.
I have to thank the West Virginia Senate or the government. I can see it outside the windows. It's been an amazing experience. I was able to get the first shot.
Oh, good for you.
And waiting for the second.
Good for you. Well, that's great. And, I think our vaccine rollout here in West Virginia has done pretty well. So I think we're up to about 20%, which is 1 out of 5 people, that's
pretty amazing.
So we're doing great. We're turning the corner. We're getting there. And thank you for that. And so you talked about, going to Europe, and then how did you end up back at WV? How did you come back to Appalachia?
Well, Well, I was born and raised in Christiansburg, Virginia, and I always loved to sing, but I didn't know that it was even an option. So when I was at Virginia Tech, I met Dr. Howell and was in this jazz group, and my first voice teacher I had, Dr. Scott McCoy, heard me, and he started grooming me and just was teaching me the passion about singing. Little did I realize he was such an incredible pedagogue. He is now one of the leading pedagogues in the world. He's at The Ohio State right now, getting ready to retire, and he brought that impetus for me to become a singer. My medical advisor, and I have to mention him, Dr. Zweifel, a very famous PhD, has lots of things with physics. He was my medical advisor, my pre-med advisor, and he heard me sing in an Alpha Phi Omega, and just in there, just having fun with the acoustic of the chapel there at Virginia Tech. And he said, you know, you could get a better degree if you were a music major. I thought, what? That's how I got to Cincinnati. Long story short, I ended up going to Europe. I was there for like 23, 25 years. And then suddenly I thought, this isn't going the way that I thought it would. And then for family reasons, I decided to come back home. And then that's how I kind of winded my way back into Appalachia. I had been teaching overseas, working as a guest artist in a production. So teaching by doing, that's a very German thing. I would be the guest artist, and then the students would have coachings with me, either on their roles or the repertoire they were learning. I did that in Cologne and Nuremberg and Augsburg. Also in Bayreuth, I was there for one of their first young artist programs. But that said, my cousin was leaving. He was there as the Major General, and he was a commander in the base in Stuttgart. And he started to leave, and I thought, well, this is my chance. I was able to then get some of my music through them back to the States, and then I thought it's time to go back.
Yeah.
And so I really miss the Appalachian area where I live in Christiansburg, among the Blue Ridge and also on the Appalachians. Some of the most beautiful scenery everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And I've been very lucky to sing all over.
Right, yeah. Especially in the autumn and those times of year.
Exactly. And I started out as a mezzo, jokingly, almost as a very high voice, a Rossini tenor. And to be 6'4" and as big as I am, I look like a refrigerator more than anything else. Anyway, that kind of juxtaposition got me jobs in Europe, where I would be denied a job in the States because my body didn't match my voice. Right. Because it's very high, sweet, and light. Anyway, I got over there, and then as I was there, I kind of went like Madonna. I was always reinventing myself. I ended up being this weird thing called a Jugendlich Heldentenor, which is basically a young heroic tenor. That's what I still am, which just means I holler loud, and I don't really have the kind of power in the lower register to do the Wagner, although I'm hoping, knock wood, to do a project in September where I'll be doing the third act of Tristan and in a film, because they're still taking lots of precautions, and then winding in between it some of the Lieder from Wagner.
Yeah, right.
So the Wesendonck Lieder, and I'll be doing, I think, Schmerzen and another. But anyway, that's also a chance, and then we're going to be doing another film, or maybe possibly live. I'm going to be doing the 5 Canticles of Benjamin Britten, which is a very difficult work, and looking forward to that. That'll be in DC.
Yeah, great. Well, we're looking forward to that too. So of course, keep us
definitely
updated on those things. So awesome. And your vocal hollering certainly works well in Appalachia. So I think you're fitting right in.
The pipes are rusty, but they're willing.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to your next selection that you have for us.
This is Max.
Okay.
And he is in Der Freischütz. That's the German national opera, and it's played everywhere. And it's being less and less done. I imagine after the pandemic, it will come back because Max is confronted with doubt.
Okay.
So we're going kind of from a music theater thing into doubt, what to do next. So he makes a pact with the devil, who gives him 7 magic bullets so that he can win the shooting contest. How Appalachian is that?
Right.
And then he goes, and in the middle of it, he sees Agatha runs up saying, "Don't shoot, I am the dove," because he had to shoot a dove, and he shoots, kills her. And then this is a really odd story, but most German opera is odd anyway.
Yeah, of course.
Comes out, and this, I don't know what the word is in English, an ogre was in a cave and came out, a very wise man, and said, we brought Agata back to life and say, you may marry her, but you have to live in exile from your family for a year.
Oh, okay. Wow.
It's a bizarre thing.
Yeah.
And I got used to Regietheater, which is director's theater. And in this, the devil was played by a woman rather than a man. And then they had actual prostitutes from the Leipzig opera area come in to give me the bullets, and they stripped clothing from me so that I'm standing there in like just my boxer shorts and a weird t-shirt. Anyway, long story short, at the end of where the curtain comes down after this aria around that time, we heard this boo, boo, and we were like, what is that noise? A bunch of nuns from the local area came in, and they were actually so upset they were booing, but that was their kind of way of showing.
Yeah,
but no one clapped.
Boo.
We only heard boo, boo.
Oh gosh,
I have no idea how I
boos.
wandered into that story, but
The
there
blue
are plenty.
birds. Okay,
Yeah.
well, that's okay. We've got Mox here, and performed live by Robert Chafin on singing tenor with Jun Lee on the piano.
Durch mich umgarnen finstere Mächte, mich fasst Verzweiflung, Futtersport, mich fasst Verzweiflung, Futtersport, mich fasst Verzweiflung, Futtersport. Wo dringt kein Strahl durch diese Nächte, wo dringt kein Strahl durch diese Nächte. Herrscht blind das Schicksal, herrscht blind das Schicksal, lebt kein Gott, lebt kein Gott, mit fast Verzweiflung, Futtersport, 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 mit fast Verzweiflung, Futtersport. Kommst du wieder schon herum?
Wow, powerful. Very powerful. Oh my
I guess
gosh.
that was the young hero coming out.
Yeah.
And at the
Wow.
end he goes, are you hanging around again talking to the devil?
Oh gosh, yeah. That's
Or his best friend of the devil.
very, very German kind of music there. A lot of,
Weber.
yes, very clear, direct enunciation too, and and really using your body to resonate that big tone. Really, really enjoyed that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, great stuff. That was Mox, and
From
performed
Der Freischütz.
from Der Freischütz, and that was performed here
And
live.
one of the things that's exciting about this, in the middle of the aria, in the more lyric section, after the introduction, the recitative, the clarinet has this huge solo. So it's like a duet with a clarinet.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And it was very different to have a man sing with a clarinet at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, just briefly how, maybe, the show tunes you were singing are different than how you sing, this lead or they're, part of that opera.
Well, I think as we're in the 21st century, singers have to be versatile. And you have to be willing to be able to sing on the core of your sound. But that doesn't mean you have to change it that much to go from, we call it contemporary music, and that's a style of teaching now, to teach the music theater students, rock, pop, gospel, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the bel canto classical method, which is
course.
more to use the breath. And there I was like I'm not used to singing, so I was taking a lot of dramatic breaths to use my breath as a color or part of the instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what separates the difference between a classical sound and more of a musical theater / popular sound, is this, we call it the CCM. And it's the difference on how you carry the tone to the end. You still sing to the end of a phrase, or you make sure that you're emphasizing certain words, but you don't have to go all the way and use the voice.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. And so let's see what our next selection is. We have some Schubert coming up.
Yeah, Frühling. All these things are about, we're going to start with Die Forelle, which means the trout. This is a very famous piece by Schubert. He then wrote it for the quintet, which is done all the time, the trout quintet. Then the second song is Frühlingsglaube, belief in spring. And then we get to Zelichite, which is the hope of what happens after spring. So it's talking about a couple that gets together and what they do and how they're waiting for their new life as a couple together.
Right. Okay. Well, we have these Lieder by Franz Schubert here. Are you going to do all three in a row here?
I think, yeah, we'll see what we can do.
A little bit of a set.
In a group.
Okay. Let's do all three here. These three Lieder by Franz Schubert. And again, Robert Chafin singing tenor here live in our studios. Dr. Jun Lee on piano.
In einem Bächlein helle, da schossen froh die launische Forelle vorüber wie ein Pfeil. Ich stand an dem Gestade und sah in süßer Ruh des muntern Fischleins Bade im klaren Bächlein zu. Des muntern Fischleins Bade im klaren Bächlein zu. Ein Fischer mit der Rute wohl an dem Ufer stand und saß mit kaltem Blute, wie sich das Fischlein wand. Solang dem Wasser helle, so dacht ich nicht gebricht, so fängt die Forelle mit seiner Angel nicht. So fängt die Forelle mit seiner Angel nicht. Doch endlich ward dem Diebe die Zeit zu lang. Er mag das Bäcklein tückisch trübe, und ich es gedacht, so zuckte seine Rute, das Fischlein zappelt dran. Und ich mit regem Blute sah ich Betrogene an. Und ich mit regem Blute sah die Betrogene an. And before we go on, you saw in the piano part that Jung played so beautifully, you could tell what was going on. And in Lieder and in these different songs that Schubert wrote and composers during his time, there were a lot of hidden meanings. And in this one especially, it talks about a fisherman and how he hooks the fish.
Right.
And how that happens and what happened. So you can imagine, let your imagination wander in spring what that means.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
So the next song is Frühlingsglaube. And this is talking about the hope and the promise that spring can be. And I think it's fascinating that Schubert had he lived, I'm sure he would have written opera. And we have a lot of great symphonic works, but he never got around to really putting together a full opera except that one that they perform, and I can't remember the name because I have Zoom haze.
Yeah, Zoom haze is every part of this pandemic.
It's a real thing.
It sure is. So we heard Die Forelle there. That was the trout. Of course, I'm partial to that because one of my first assignments in composition class with Dr. John Beal was to write a theme and variations, and then he showed us the trout theme and variations, and that was what we had to study to learn how to do that. So I love that too, and
I think we all do.
Back to undergraduate.
Yeah,
study.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we learned how to what harmony had to do with the words.
Yeah.
And how that makes a song.
Yeah.
And that's why these songs survive.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a great performance. So take it away with Frühlingsglaube.
und wehen Tag und Nacht. Sie schaffen an allen Enden, an allen Enden. O frischer Duft, o neuer Klang, o neuer Klang, nun armes Herze, sei nicht bang, nun muss sich alles wenden, nun muss sich alles wenden. Die Welt wird schöner mit jedem Tag. Man weiß nicht, was noch werden mag. Das Blühen will nicht enden. Es will nicht enden. Es blüht das fernste, tiefste Tal. Es blüht das tiefste Tal. Nun, armes Herz, vergiss der Qual. Nun muss sich alles wenden. Nun muss sich alles wenden. I love this song. I'd like to just read back what I sang. The last verse goes, Das Blühen will nicht enden, es will nicht enden. The trees will never stop blooming, they will always bloom. Es blüht das fernste, tiefste Tal. Even as far away as you can see, in the deepest valley, the blooms will come. And then, nun armes Herz, vergiss der Qual, with an exclamation point. Only, my poor heart, forget your pain. And I think that's the hope of spring. And then he comes back to that little phrase and tag that comes after every verse. You as a composer could probably tell the construction. It's so typical song form, but it's special because the way he set the words. And that's what, and I love that the play out is very long. And in a Schubert song, except in some of his cycles, he doesn't usually have as long of a play out.
Right, yeah. Well, that's beautiful music, getting us ready for spring here.
I'm ready for spring. My allergies certainly are here, that's for sure. Sorry for all the... I just
okay.
did what I shouldn't do. I tell my singers, never apologize, and there I did.
That's okay. Yeah, you're more than allowed to. Especially if you're singing about spring. I'm ready for that to come. Here it's just around the corner. Couple weeks and we're in it, and I love hearing the German leader about it, because the Germans seem to love spring. There's all sorts.
They really do. The linden tree. If you've never, I always
there's so
wanted
many
to see
songs.
What is a linden tree. One of my other mentors, Sylvia Plyler. She was one of the most exotic, weird, strange, beautiful souls. Since it was the International Women's Day yesterday, I'd kind of like to dedicate that to her, and also to Sun Jung, since we're here. Music was her life. She had a choir in a church, but she always had an eye out for her students. She was our diction teacher and a lead or a song coach. Only when I left, she did more opera. But what she did was more than just be a professor or a mentor. She would see someone And she goes, that person needs to go somewhere. She goes, come with me to Lenhart's, a German restaurant. You need some potato soup. So with her very meager wage, she would take us out and help us out. And I will never forget that. Someone else who's very much like that is Dr. Jun Lee. It's an amazing thing to see a colleague so giving.
Right.
And it's a pleasure to see in person and to make music together.
Yeah, I'm glad we're bragging on Jun Lee. She's
our school would fall apart, especially the musical theater area.
She's the backbone.
Oh, she gets music. The kids will run up and tack it on her door or slip it under her door, right, and she has like 30 seconds to prepare. You do a lot of the recitals as well. I know Jung doesn't like to speak, but she is very integral to our school.
Absolutely. And she says she has a recording tonight, too.
She's going back. Oh, so for our choirs, Dr. Kim Scott is putting together one of their spring concerts, and she has to go back right after this is over and run up the road. Yeah. So I'm very thankful.
Not just run up the road, all the way up 79.
And I know I embarrassed you, but I don't care, Dr. Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. We should brag on her because she's doing a great job. And she's a veteran here for our call for performance, so it's great to have her back.
So we're getting into Zelichite and... never give a tenor a chance, by the way, to just talk, because they'll talk forever.
Okay.
But Zelichite is just a very simple, beautiful piece that was very typical of the parlor songs that he would write. And Zelichite just means being soulful, putting yourself in a position to receive the hope of spring.
Okay, let's take it away. Zelichite by Franz Schubert.
Freudensonderzahl, blühen in Himmelssaal, Engel und Verklärten, wie die Väter lehrten. Oh, da möcht ich sein und mich ewig freuen, und mich ewig freuen. Jedem lächelt traut eine Himmelsbraut, Harf und Psalter klinget und man tanzend und singet. Oh, da möcht ich sein und mich ewig freuen und mich ewig freuen. Bleib ich hier, lächelt Laura mir, einen Blick, der saget, dass ich ausgeklaget, selig dann mit ihr, bleib ich ewig hier, bleib ich ewig hier.
Great there. Zelichite by Franz Schubert, performed live in our studios. And why don't we just move right along here and jump into Innisfree, if you'd like. That's your next selection?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll jump in.
I got to hear this song for the first time from one of my students who came from Mexico to get her undergraduate and degree in vocal performance. And it's just a beautiful song, talking about going to an island to recuperate, to think, and to reflect.
Yeah, well, let's do that. We've got a lot of isolation here in these days, so this
I tell you,
fits right in here. Innisfree, and performed by Professor Robert Chafin and Dr. Jun Lee.
And go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there of clay and wattles made. No the billowed glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the veils of the morning to where the cricket sings. There midnight's all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow. And go now, for always night and day. I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway or on the pavement's gray. I hear it in the deep heart's core. The deep heart's core.
Beautiful song there, yeah.
Isn't it a gorgeous song by Ben Moore?
Really great stuff, and you've been getting some great feedback on our live stream. Walt says, I'm enjoying this very much in Wheeling. Mr. Chafin's selections are very charming, and he has a beautiful instrument. That's your voice. And Bonnie says, totally delightful selections I've never heard. Sung Jung is one of my favorite people. Such talent. I'm here in Morgantown, and as your mother say, you are a blessing.
Oh.
And then Tom says, thanks for this wonderful program. So, of course, thanks to all our listeners out there. And thanks for you all for coming, making the trip down here and jumping on for our call for performers. And we have 2 selections here, but only 6 minutes. So are we going to have enough time for both?
I think we will.
We can hit them back to back?
Yeah.
Let's do it. So we have Love When A-Riding and Softly and Tenderly. And take it away when you're ready.
Stay here with us, King of Kings. But love said no. For the horse I ride, for the horse I ride has wings. Love when as we are coming to the end, I always end my recitals, concerts with Softly and Tenderly. And I'd like to dedicate it to my grandma. It's an old hymn. And this is a version I found from A Trip to Bountiful.
Okay, here we go.
Softly and tenderly Jesus is calling, calling for you and for me. See on the portals he's waiting and watching, watching for you and for me. Come home, come home, ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, oh sinner, come home. Oh, for the wonderful love he has promised, promised for you and for me. Though we have sinned, he has mercy and pardon, pardon for you and for me. Come home, come home, ye who are weary, come home. Earnestly, tenderly, Jesus is calling, calling, oh sinner, come home.
That was beautiful. Very nice. And very tender way to end the concert.
So it's good to be home.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to have you all come here. We really appreciate both Robert Chafin, assistant professor of voice from West Virginia University, singing tenor, and Jun Lee, the staff accompanist at West Virginia University, who's a veteran here for our call for performers. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's show.
Thank you very much.
And delighting us with those tunes. So stay tuned for 1A, that's coming up next here on West Virginia Public Broadcasting. That's WVPB Charleston, WVBY Beckley, WVBL Bluefield, WVPW Buchanan, WVWV Huntington, WVP Martinsburg, WVKM Matewan, WVPM Morgantown, WVPG Parkersburg, WVDS Petersburg, WVWS Webster Springs, WVNP Wheeling, and we're online, WVpublic.org. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is part of our call for performers. And of course, if you out there are interested in coming and performing live,